Halo 2 is such a massive jump from the first, with so many more weapons, but what if you wanted to ignore a bunch of these new weapons? Can you beat Halo 2 without swapping weapons? Alright, so, Christ, the amount of rules with this. So, I can only use the weapons I start each mission with. If I start a mission driving a vehicle, I can hit enemies with that version of a vehicle, and if I start in the vehicle with weapon access, like the turret of a warthog, I can use the weapon on that vehicle type. Wow, that was hard for me to read. One other thing, I can technically swap out weapons, but if that weapon I didn't start with gets used to progress through the game, I fail the challenge. And I can use grenades as much as I want, but I can't dual wield even with the weapons of the starting type. And I can't switch grenade types manually. Starting with Carrier Station, because the first two levels are just cutscenes and tutorials, and much like Crow's Nest, we actually get to choose out our weapons. Battle Rifle and Magnum, and we're ready to go. God, I forgot how bad the Magnum is. I mostly just stuck with the Battle Rifle and melee, and tried to use grenades at the end, but it really didn't work. Either way, we gave the Covenant back their property because it's wrong to steal. That's how Capture the Flag works, right? Wait a minute, could this be special delivery? Wait, no. It is not special delivery. It is never special delivery. The only special delivery that's happening is me to the surface. Finally, we have an SMG, and the only trouble in the beginning was the hunters. But they went down eventually, and the jackals weren't an issue. None of the outskirts were really that hard because I didn't want to hit anything with ghosts. I walked down the highway, which gave me the benefit of somewhat skipping the ghost carrier section at the cost of a really long and really boring walk. But either way, we don't start in the Metropolis tank, so I have to walk all the way through the Battle of the Bridge. Yeah, that didn't go well. That was a lie, it's just really boring. Not even the section with the jackals was hard, and I was able to just walk past the wraiths. Seriously, I can't properly convey the boringness of these sections. It's like waiting for your mom to stop talking to her friend at the supermarket. Meanwhile, your sibling is taking the opportunity to beat the hell out of you. One of the worst ways to pass the time, and you just want it to be over. Anyway, we finally get to take on the Scarab, and instead of dealing with a power core, because the devs learned from Halo 3 not to make power cores, we need to take out the, yeah, not making a joke here. Moving on. So, we get to play as RB. Yeah, I'll never say that again, I am so sorry. Anyway, we start with a plasma rifle and a new weapon, the energy sword, the Covenant equivalent of a machete. Didn't get that reference? Neither did my sleeping cat. We also start with the ability to turn invisible. I can't believe they put a Spy TF2 reference in a Halo game. Halo 2 is a really good stealth game, guys. Trust me. Anyway, it's on to the flying section. Boring. I can't really attack anything, so it's up to the Wraith to deal with everything. But at least that's the end of the Arbiter. Now we get to play as the Oracle. Wait, what? Wait, then why? Okay, so we don't really get to play as the Oracle, despite the name. God, I hate this level. It's just running in circles while switching weapons when you can. And a second room with a bunch of energy source to waste, then another room where a mandatory but missable cutscene happens, then a room with some cores that we need to cut. And now we have a boss fight because the mad dash really wasn't an issue and the fight section was just a point A to point B. I swear you actually had to fight in it, but I guess the game knows what's up. Anyway, this fight section was way harder than it should have been because I was trying to one-shot him with a sticky grenade, but I eventually just stuck a pointy photon in him. We're back as Chief to fight the yucky aliens, and we start with an SMG and a rocket launcher that I didn't use. Yeah, not even at the end.
Honor guards.
And of course I start regret with a plasma sniper. Speaking of regret, I regret starting this playthrough, purely because of the insanity of this level. Kind of. The gondola ride is waiting for your mom to finish her convo with her friend, and running through the hallways is your sibling taking the opportunity to beat the shit out of you. And dealing with regret is, I don't know, mom saying yes to leaving. Almost worked the first time, but your sibling fishhooked you, and the second time you were smart enough to spine tap him. Moving on, I got an Australian assault rifle for Halo 3. I'd say in the Halo 2 video. Speaking of Halo 2, it's time to move on to the next level of Halo 2. This level starts off with a boss fight that was way easier than I remember. What took me a long time was realizing that I could interact with the flashing lights. Speaking of lights, the lighting in my room was really fucked up because I had my blinds open, so I was dealing with sun glare, so I messed around with my gamma. So the rest of the game will look lighter than before, and this is why. In this area, I didn't realize that I could just run to the opposite end of the area, which gave me the idea of the greatest strategy of all time, running past everything and not giving myself enough footage to explain what I'm doing in post because I ran out of ammo. Anyway, we finally made our way to the surface, which means it's just a lot of waiting around for the level to finish itself. Quarantine Zone sucks. It's actually awful. I have no idea where to go. There are two sections that look the same, and at one point I had to crank the gamma to max just to kind of see what the fuck did I write here? I had to crank the gamma to max just so I could kind of see where I was going. There we go. Despite all of this section only took me a good 15 minutes, which I'm pretty sure is the part time for the entire level. Another 5, and I blew up an enemy who made sure to throw his carbine off the gondola. Thanks 343. After that disaster, it's just a mad dash to the end of the level. Now there is much talk with Mr. Mind, and sends the chief to High Charity. Also, all this time I've been saying variants and not types, I hope, when talking about switching energy weapons. This is what I'm talking about. There are two variants of the plasma rifle, the Elite plasma rifle, which is purple, and the Brute plasma rifle, which is red. So I can only use Brute plasma rifles in this level along with a Needler because that's what I started with. Anyway, it's on to saving some Marines. Done and done. Now we have an outdoor section that I always get lost in. For some reason I always think this door will open up, but I have to do something to open it. Kill all the enemies? Well, they're all dead before I realized it. Get the Marines over here? No, that didn't work. Look up a walkthrough that showed me that I have to go to what looks like an inaccessible door and walk around it. It would be really funny if that didn't work. But despite what my friends say, I'm not a clown. I'm worse. A Halo player. And trust me, this next section is filled with the same levels of idiocy. So, there's this massive fight happening in this room, and Cortana tells me to just sit this one out, so I try to continue in the level, but the door on the other end doesn't open. Now, I'll spare you what I tried to do to get this open, which was basically nothing, and just say that I actually did have to fight all the enemies in that giant Arbiter turf war. Yeah, it went great. I died a ton, but somehow Somehow I got my shit together on like the 4th try. Uprising is another level that isn't hard, you just gotta run past all the enemies and you should be good. But because I haven't played this level in so long, I had no idea where I was going. Especially during the end where I thought where I was supposed to go is where I came from, so yeah, that's great. Moving on. High Charity. Yeah, now things are starting to look a lot more like Calgary. Basically, this is just the escape section for Gravemind. This is another level where you can just run past everything. I mean, it's an escape level. There's really not much else to do except make a mad dash to the end, so yeah. Actually, no, there is one thing I want to talk about it. Are Flood, like, actually invincible to melee damage? Because, like, it feels that way. I don't know, maybe it only does like 1 damage or something. I don't really know what to make of it, but despite all that, I made it to the end. The Great Journey and the final level. It all comes down to this. This is for all the marbles. Walking to the facility was actually kind of cool. I don't know why, I just liked it. Freeing the Imprisoned Covenant was pretty awesome as well. Got some Sly 2 in my Halo 2. And then I made it up to where the Scarab is, and Johnson was there with his massive key. And I wasn't sure about this section with the Banshees. I started off using them to get to the ground and deal with the Wraiths to get Johnson to start moving the Scarab. Then I used the Banshee to get up to the turrets to deal with them, and the enemy Banshees and Wraiths don't deal enough damage to Johnson to destroy the Scarab, so I just waited near the door. But that didn't stop me from seeing if you can get inside the Scarab to say hi to Johnson, which you can't. So it's time for me to deal with Tartar Sauce, and dear god, this fight was beyond difficult. I probably died over 10 times. Because I didn't have a charged energy sword, I had to let Tartarus kill one of the elites who did, so I could take it and promptly die. Hell, even grenades felt like they barely did a dent. But eventually Johnson will start shooting at the fishy stick dip, and at that point it's just whack-a-mole, except the mole has the hammer and you have an alien paperweight. Either way, Tartarus is dead, the Halo rings are on standby, and Chief is finishing the fight, and I beat Halo 2 without swapping weapons. This challenge was actually pretty fun, sort of. I don't know. Halo 3 was boring in the beginning, then super fun towards the end, and all for nothing thanks to Spark. And Halo 1 was pretty fun all the way through, with only the mob being absolutely atrocious. But Halo 2 went from pretty easy to pretty boring to absolutely infuriating, even if I could see what I was doing, to an absolute blast and a half, to actually getting pretty damn difficult, so yeah, I don't know what to make of it. Hopefully you like the video either way, but with that, yeah, take care everyone.